PM drivers.
Would I rather be feared or loved? Easy, both. I want people to be afraid of how much they love me.
Matt Skraby wraps up a full day of live and local sports talk.
And that is the whole problem with aliens. You just can't trust them. Occasionally you meet a nice one, but usually they turn out to be some kind of big lizard.
The Skraby Show starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
Hello and welcome into the Skraby Show for November 5th, 2025. I am Matt Skraby. Thank you for joining me. And we have a lot to talk about tonight. We do. And it's not going to go in the direction of the payroll thing today, but we do have to talk about this Albert Pujols thing. And I'll explain it if you are just getting into your car and you're not sure about it. But I would like to share my kind of thought and experience because it has to do with drugs and alcohol and someone who's willing to do crazy things for money for drugs and alcohol. And I've never done anything like too crazy, like taking a fastball at 90 miles an hour off my knee. But I will try to let people in to the head of someone who is willing to go that far to get money to buy drugs and alcohol. And we'll go through that in a little bit. We'll also talk about the college football thing I was going to talk about last night. Hugh Freeze being fired from Auburn just really has taken my not my love for college football, because that hasn't been there for a very long time, but these firings and the amount of dead money they're paying and the amount of money they're paying these guys to go the other way, it just has really taken the fun out of everything. It really has, because now you got the Louisiana governor involved with LSU and their coach. And so I feel like things have just become too crazy. And so I like watching football. I'm watching the Maction game right now between Toledo and Northern Illinois. But when it comes to the business of college football, I just can't. I can't get past certain things. So we'll talk about that as the show goes along. And also, I have an announcement for a special live show that I'm going to be doing next week. So stick around for that. But I wanted to tell people about a new endeavor that I am doing. And I'm not leaving 97.3 The Fan or anything like that. I'm still going to do all my jobs on 97.3 The Fan. But I'm also going to be a podcast producer for another news organization in town. And I started last week, and I am having so much fun doing it so far. But the reason you may have heard me be so flustered today is because I'm trying to figure out this new schedule of mine. And it's on Wednesdays and Thursdays. It's basically a 9 a.m. start to my day downtown. And then I come here and then I go home after the Skraby Show. I'm not complaining about the amount of work. I'm just trying to figure out how I need to do things so that I'm more prepared for the show, so I'm not feeling like I'm unprepared. Now, there were some things today during the show that I did not cause, like the random EAS test and all of that. But still, I did not have a great show. So I am letting everyone in on this as kind of an excuse, I guess. But I have been working with the Voice of San Diego. Their mission is simple: investigative journalism for a better San Diego. So they've had a podcast for a really long time, and they're trying to up the podcast, and they're trying to, get more people involved in the podcast. And so they've seen what I've done here on YouTube on 97.3 The Fan, and they posted a job. I applied and ended up getting hired. So I'm very excited about that. It's the people that work there are great, and they really do care about San Diego, and they really do want to do good, they really do want to bring you great investigative journalism here in San Diego that you don't really find anywhere else. And so I'm learning this whole thing. I'm learning new topics and things like that. But if you're curious about the podcast or anything like that, go to voiceofsandiego.org. There's a podcast tab at the top. It's the VOSD podcast. And I've only been there for one of them. So that the last one, we talked about water rate hikes, which is important to everyone. So I'm learning new things as well locally, the local political scene. I'm learning a little bit more about it and how it works and all that stuff. But it's been an eye opener, and it's been really nice to be able to work with other people who are, passionate about bringing news to the people of San Diego. And so I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. But basically, that's why I am feeling like I'm a chicken with my head cut off today, because I'm just trying to balance out this schedule. But I will, if you're following me on social media and stuff, I'll put out some of the clips and things we do as we go along. But it's a really, really good news source for San Diegans, and it's from people that are, very involved in San Diego. So I know that people like that. And yeah, but I'm still going to stay here. I know for some people that's probably not the greatest thing in the world for them, but I'm going to be doing both now, and I think it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a good challenge for me, and I'm ready for it. Clay says, Skraby, I wish you best in your new endeavors. Thank you. Oh, the best in your new endeavors. Thank you. Again, not going anywhere. Not going anywhere. So let's get into this Albert Pujols issue that is happening. There was an article in The Athletic posted this morning. And so the title of the YouTube today, by the way, if you want to watch the show, you can. Facebook 97.3 The Fan, at The Skraby Show on YouTube, and then 97.3 The Fan on YouTube as well. On X, it's at Matt Skraby, and you can watch it there. So we, this, I titled the YouTube, Is It Bad the Padres Don't Have a Manager Yet? And I titled it like that because I think people are starting to feel that way. I'm kind of thinking, like, what's going on? I'm not someone who is thinking that they're making a mistake by waiting too long. I want them to make the right decision. I want them to be careful with this decision, because I've said this before on this show, but this is probably one of, or the biggest managerial hires for the team. And I think that the fact that they haven't hired anyone yet is telling me that they're ready to make the right hire. And then I saw this news story this morning, and I thought maybe kind of sort of this might be holding things up. I don't know. I want people to know that I don't have any insight into this, and Tony doesn't have any insight to it as well. But it all has to do with Albert Pujols when he was with the Angels, and it was brought to light in the trial for Tyler Skaggs. The family is suing the Angels, but they put this in there, and we talked about Mike Trout a few weeks ago and how he testified, and he said that he had heard that Eric Kay, the communications director, he had heard that he was, trying to do crazy stunts for money. And then there was more information today brought up in court. And here is what was said. And it's from the Skaggs lawyer, Daniel Dutko. And there was a couple videos that were presented in court today. And here's where Albert Pujols comes in. The Albert Pujols, I'll just read the article. Quote, the other video was of him taking a 90-mile-an-hour fastball to the knee as superstar Albert Pujols egged him on. This was one of the various horseplay dares in exchange for money, was testified. The video of Kay taking a fastball off the leg was the first video or photographic evidence of Kay participating in these dares. In the video, Pujols is visible instructing Kay to, quote, stand like this, boom, take it like a man, end quote. The Athletic reached out for comment from Albert Pujols, but they didn't get anything back. So the situation is kind of strange because you have a communications guy who is going around to players And I don't know how it came up. I don't know how I don't know if Eric K went to the players or if the players knew that he was willing to do crazy things for in exchange for money. And then he was going to turn around and spend that money on drugs and alcohol and just bad things in general. But from what I've been reading, and I've been trying to read more, and so if something else comes out, I will for sure talk about it. But it seems to me like this was done with the Albert Pujols, at least this one incident. It was done before everybody knew what he was using the money for. And if you are someone who's sitting out there thinking, like, why would Albert Pujols do this? Why would a baseball team do this? Why would a communications director do this? Well, we know why the communications director did it. But I think from over the years, I've heard stories from Tony off the air about things that have happened in clubhouses. And this does sound like something that happens in a major league clubhouse. Now, if Albert Pujols knew that he was going to take the money and go buy drugs with it, that would be a totally different story. But from what I can tell is that as soon as someone went and told Mike Trout about what he was using the money for, Mike Trout went and talked to Eric K. So I said this a few weeks ago, but Mike Trout is handling this very well and has handled it very well. He did the right things. He went and he talked to the person, but we have to figure out, and I'm not saying this is holding up any hiring process, but I can see the Padres kind of like, where is this going to go? Because you don't want to hire someone and then have all this bad stuff come out about what they possibly did. So I think they're probably doing their due diligence and trying to figure out exactly what happened. But in the case of Albert Pujols, I don't think this is something that should stop him if indeed this was the one incident, or if he didn't know where the money was going to be spent. I would say that this is just what baseball players do. I believe that. I can't remember what player it was. And this is some of the things that they would do is there is like a sock container that everybody uses. They pull socks out of it, I guess. But one of the players used to use it in the bathroom and then put it back in there. And so people would pull out those. I think that's much worse than what Albert Pujols did, because that's disgusting. But those are the type of things that people do during a baseball season. It's a very, very long baseball season. They have lots of time. So I got a message this morning saying, do you think this is why it's holding up the managerial process? And I said, I'm not sure, but I would think that there's some pause once they found this news, and then they would have to investigate it and wait for things to play out. Clay says on the chat, they may be trying to be sure that there will not be any lingering distractions away from the clubhouse and the team. And they should. They should do their homework on this. And it seems like they are doing their homework on this. But I don't know that this is enough to take Albert Pujols out of the running. I'm not even talking about whether or not I want Albert Pujols as the manager. But this one story, it does not, to me, mean that he cannot be manager of the Padres anymore. Is it a great look? Probably not. Probably not. But again, this is what baseball players do to pass the time. They play stupid games. They just have to waste a ton of time. And think about like rain delays, how long that takes for things to sometimes you're sitting there for 4 hours doing nothing. So to me, if I take what I've learned today and use this, I don't think it's enough for me to want to turn away from Albert Pujols. Again, it would change if we found out that he knowingly gave Eric K money because he knew where that money was going to go. If he knowingly gave them money knowing that it was going to go to drugs, then I have an issue with that. But Max says something that I think, it crossed my mind too. Pujols sounds like a frat bro. He does. I think a lot of baseball players would sound like a frat bro. But that's the news today. And answering my YouTube question, is it bad the Padres don't have a manager yet? Answer is no, it's not bad. It's not bad because everything is going to be okay. Dominic says that would mean they're all in on Pujols. Otherwise, they wouldn't care and they would move on. That is true. We haven't really seen any news be released since that news that they had a 9-hour interview last week. So you don't have 9-hour interviews if there isn't serious consideration for it. And you think about that. A 9-hour interview. I'm nervous. I was nervous when I went to do the Voice of San Diego interview. And that was only 30 minutes. 9 hours? You talk about everything in 9 hours, but man. Chris says, if Padres don't hire Pujols, there's going to be a lot of question on Pujols' involvement or knowledge of the incidents. I don't disagree with that. And if he was involved and they find him to be involved, then I don't have any issues with them turning away from it, which is what they should do. But as of now, it's not enough for me to turn my back on Albert Pujols. Again, this is not me advocating for him to be the manager or not. I have in the past said it would be great for him to be the manager because it would make everything fun. Padres would be talk of the sports news around the country for a week, maybe a couple days actually, because things move so fast. But with a future Hall of Famer like him as the manager, there's going to be interest. And I think it would be fun and interesting to have him as manager. I don't know what he would do, but I have a feeling that it sounds like from the little clips that I've heard from Matt Holliday said that Albert Pujols and Yadier Molina are a package deal. That could work. If he surrounds himself with smart people, I think that he could do it. I think he could. He has enough baseball knowledge. Come on. He's been playing the game his entire life. He's managing Dominican Republic's team. So there is some experience there. But I haven't really heard any other names than the ones that we have talked about, which would be Nick Hundley, Ruben Niebla, Albert Pujols, and I heard Ryan Flaherty. Don't know if Ryan Flaherty is involved. I don't know. But there has been very little news in the last week about this. So that is slightly strange. But I have a feeling it's all going to come to a head very soon. I can't say it's this week. I would rather have it be this week so we could talk about it and move on. But if it's next week, I think if we get to the winter meetings and they don't have a manager, then maybe there's a little bit of an issue. But as of right now, I don't think it's enough of an issue for us to panic. When we get back on the Skraby Show, I'm going to let you into the mind of Eric K. Or at least I can't let you into his mind, but I'll let you into my mind about why you would do something so crazy for drug money. So stick with me. Skraby Show, 97.3 The Fan.
What makes Crystal Geyser Alpine Spring Water different? We always bottle our Alpine Spring Water less than 1.5 miles from the spring source, and all our bottles are made with 50% recycled plastic from our own recycling plants. Crystal Geyser, bottled at the spring source.
At Navy Federal Credit Union, we celebrate veterans of all branches and their families on Veterans Day and every day of the year. And our legacy is built on our commitment to military families and veterans we've proudly served for over 90 years. Because their unique experiences and contributions are what inspire us to serve them. And this Veterans Day, we're proud to continue supporting veteran success beyond finances. That's why we're partnering with Travis Manion Foundation's Veterans Day of Service campaign, connecting veterans and families of the fallen with local volunteer opportunities. We also want all veterans to know your service opens the door to exclusive benefits for you and your whole family. And when you join Navy Federal, you can share access.
All right, my camera was all turned around. Just been one of those days, everybody. Just been one of those days. I got a text in the break, and it was about the Albert Pujols situation. And they said, we need a boss in that clubhouse. Someone who's going to get stuff done, demand respect. I'm not sure that a frat boy is it. And I wanted Pujols to be that guy, but I feel different now. And I know that there are people who are going to feel different. I know that there are people who are going to look at this news of Albert Pujols and say, man, I don't know if he's the right guy for the manager of the Padres. I don't know that I want someone who is, horsing around all the time. I don't want someone who's horsing around being in charge of this team. And I understand why people would feel that way. I do. I understand people would feel that way. But I do also understand that there is I can't really explain it, but like I played high school football, there's roughhousing, there's horseplay, there's things that happen in locker rooms and within teams that to the outside world might be terrible, and to the outside world may make them feel like this isn't the right guy for us. But within the team, I think it's something that is part of what you do as a team, part of team building. Now, I'm not sure if taking a 90-mile-an-hour fastball off the knee for money is a route I would go, but I do not think this is something that's happening only with the Angels at the time. I feel like this would be happening across clubhouses in baseball, because we see crazy videos all the time of what they do when they are passing their time. And so I'm not excusing the behavior, because I personally would not do that. I can't say, hey, whatever, he was just doing it for fun. I do think there is something to it. This also happened years ago, so maybe there was some growth and there was some learning from Albert Pujols. You know, when Tyler Skaggs passed away, I'm sure that when he passed away, I'm sure a lot of people thought, wow, how did I contribute to this? And it can change people. It can change people when you find out something about someone that you didn't know, and you didn't know it was as bad as it was in the case of Tyler Skaggs. So I think I want to go through like what it's like. I can't get into Eric K's head, but I can get into my head. And I remember when I was drinking and, everything else, I was willing to do anything to get alcohol. I was really trying to keep my consumption up. And when you are stuck in an addiction like Eric K was, you are willing to go to some crazy lengths to get your substance. You may not think that people would go like you wouldn't think that I would. Here's some of the stuff that I did to get money so that I can fund my problem. And I'm 8 years without a drink of alcohol, so don't worry about me. I'm fine. But I have turned gift cards in for cash. And if you know anything about turning gift cards in, they take half of the gift card and they give you half cash. But I needed cash. So I went and I went and sold the gift card so that I can get some cash. I have collected coins, and I have paid for booze in my past with coins. I've been that guy. I have done a lot. I have stolen money from people close to me. And I have since made amends with those people. But here's the guy, you're listening to a guy who likes to do the right thing, likes to be a good person, likes to be someone who is positive for society and things like that. But you had me turning in gift cards, stealing money. I never actually stole any booze because I was too afraid of getting caught. But my complete thoughts were, where was I going to get it? How was I going to get it? When I did get it, what was I, how was I going to consume it? And so in the case of Eric K, when he's accepting these crazy bets, like to take a 90-mile-an-hour fastball off the knee, I think that that's, in a strange way, I think that that is a normal thought for someone with an addict brain or an alcoholic brain, because all you're thinking about is, how can I get my next thing? And so he probably, I can't speak for him, but here's how I would see it. If I was in that organization surrounded by guys with millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, I would probably at some point try and do something like this, because it's not like I want to go out there and get hit by a fastball. But to me, I'm like, hey, let's just say he gave him $500. So we don't know how much he gave him. $500. To me, in my mind, I'm like, $500 just to get hit once by a baseball? This is a no-brainer. Let's go. Give me the $500. Let's go do it right now. That would be what I would try to do. And I would try to get as much money as I can get from people. And then, as Eric K did, I would turn around and spend it on alcohol, drugs, whatever. And so when you're thinking about this situation and how crazy it is, and you're thinking Albert Pujols is a bully, I can't say this for sure, but I would think I would have a hard time believing that Albert Pujols came up with this all on his own. I would think that Eric K at some point started to work this in because he saw an opportunity to get some money from guys. And getting hit once with a fastball for $500 to a guy like him in the middle of his addiction, I think that sounds like a pretty good deal. I've known people to do even crazier things for booze. I knew one time, well, this is something else, but I know someone who was addicted to opioids, and it got so bad that they would go into their grandma's cabinet when they would go to their grandma's house, and they would take her opioids, and she had cancer. So, and this person loved their grandma, but they were so lost that this was an idea for them. This was how they were going to get this. And this person is a good person that I'm talking about. Good people do bad things sometimes. And so I'm not excusing any of it, but I am saying that when you think, oh, Albert Pujols is a bully, maybe he is, I can't say for sure, but knowing how my brain worked when I was trying to find money, knowing how other people's brains work when they're trying to find money, I would think this was just a fun thing for the clubhouse. So until we know more information, I can't say that this was a malicious or nefarious thing from Albert Pujols. And the reason I brought up Eric K and how he was thinking is because I've not been in his shoes. No one has the same situation, but I have done really wild things to get some money. I mean, my parents already know this, but I stole money from them. I stole money for them. I've apologized to them, but still, I feel shame from it. But at the time, it was a means to an end. And I said I'll deal with the shame later. And so this whole thing is a sad story, and it's only being brought up because of the Tyler Skaggs lawsuit trial situation. But when we think about what happened, just know that the people involved trying to get money for drugs, they were playing right into this. They weren't doing this against their will. And to have access to millionaires like they did, it probably was a pretty easy call. I don't know what else they did. So again, if there's more that comes out, I will talk about it. But this to me is just horseplay. And if Albert Pujols knew where this was going, if Albert Pujols knew that it was going towards drugs, then that's wrong. But if it's just horseplay, if it's just friendly stuff between dudes being dudes, then I think it's not as big of a deal as we think. All right. When we get back on the Skraby Show, I have an announcement for a live broadcast, not on the air, but it's going to be on YouTube. It's going to be a YouTube live, and I'm going to try to solve a Rubik's Cube. So I'll tell you when that's going to be when we get back here on 97.3 The Fan.
Quinn and Chris.
don't know if anybody has heard this band. I'm sure people have heard this band. I don't know why I started like that. Excuse me. But this just sounds like an Avenged Sevenfold song. It's not. It's just some random bed that I get from our little computer system that we're allowed to use. But it sounds like a really fun Avenged Sevenfold song. I'm Matt Skraby. This is the Skraby Show, 97.3 The Fan. We have a Daily Gripe coming up. We also have this announcement coming up, and then I'm going to get into this college football thing real quick. But let's start with the announcement. And it's been a while since I originally accepted this challenge, but I'm going to be doing a Rubik's Cube on YouTube Live, and it's going to be next Thursday, November 13th at 5:15 p.m. So I'll send out the link and stuff. But here's why I'm doing this. Because, I brought this up. I remember now. There was a kid, I saw a video of a kid doing a Rubik's Cube in like less than 2 seconds. And so I said, there is zero chance I could even do a Rubik's Cube in 45 minutes. And then someone on the chat said, you should do a YouTube Live. And I can't remember who that person was. I wish I was able to remember who told me about this. But next Thursday, November 13th, 5:15, I'm going to be putting a 45-minute time limit on it. Excuse me, everything's been so weird today. Now my throat's all of a sudden going. But I don't know how this is going to go, because I started messing with the Rubik's Cube over the weekend, and I've watched YouTube videos on how to solve a Rubik's Cube. I even downloaded the Rubik's Cube guide to it, and I don't know how it's going to go. But I'm putting the 45-minute time limit on just because I don't want to sit there for 7 hours and end up not being able to solve it. So if I do this and I hit the 45-minute limit, then I'm just someone who can't solve a Rubik's Cube. Katrina said it's 100% flying across the room at some point. Possibly when I get to the 45-minute mark. But November 13th, 5:15 on the Skraby Show YouTube, I will be doing it. And everybody can join in. They can chat. They can ask questions. We can talk. We can do whatever. But I'm going to try to do the Rubik's Cube. Bernice. Hey, Bernice. Bernice says, you should challenge Tony. There's zero chance that he would want to do that. Maybe. No, he wouldn't want to do that. I don't think so, at least. Do you think he would want to do it? I don't think so. Because he wouldn't want to be... Tony, I don't think would want to know that I can't do a Rubik's Cube and he can't do a Rubik's Cube. So, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But pay attention to my YouTube at The Skraby Show. And next Thursday, November 13th at 5:15 p.m. on YouTube Live will be a day that lives in infamy because of my embarrassment. All right, we still have the Daily Gripe, but I wanted to talk about this college football stuff real quick because Hugh Freeze, Auburn's coach, was fired over the weekend, and his buyout wasn't that big of a deal. The Brian Kelly buyout and the James Franklin buyout total like over $100 million. And that's where I'm having an issue. Number one, it's like, first off, in Hugh Freeze's case, he probably wasn't the best coach, and so it's not as big of a surprise that he was let go. I do think it's a massive surprise that James Franklin was randomly let go after they lost like a couple games. And I think LSU let Brian Kelly go because LSU football is massive. It's very important. And also the governor got involved with the LSU football. But it's college football. And it doesn't sit well with me that there's so much money being passed around by other people And yes, they're trying to get players money with the NIL, and they're trying to do things to pay players, and I think that's a good thing. But when I see someone getting paid $50+ million to go home, it kind of makes me sick is too much of a phrase, but it just makes me turn away from the college football game and think, man, there's nothing here for me. College football before was, and I'm not trying to be the get off my lawn guy. College football before was, you get a head coach and you try with that head coach for as long as possible. And then sometimes you have to move on. I get that. But I really, 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 really don't like that coaches are just fired for losing a game. And here's what I also don't like is now if the boosters aren't happy with you, you'll get fired. And I guess boosters can be looked at as investors. And so if you're not repaying your investment to the boosters, then I get it. If you're not winning, you're not producing anything for the people that gave money, the boosters. But in Auburn's case, boosters gave $10 million or raised $10 million into the Auburn roster this year. And Hugh Freeze was not good enough for the boosters. And I just think that when you start allowing outside forces like this, like boosters and governors, that's where I stop caring. That's where I stop caring. Side note, San Diego State, they're putting up on TV right now, best chance to reach the playoff group of 5, San Diego State, 4%. So they're up on there. There's 3 teams in the American that can make it. But here I am bashing college football, and then I'm going to talk about college football with the Aztecs. But the Aztecs, they don't take it lightly when they let coaches go. And they're giving Sean Lewis a chance. They could have easily went the other way after last year. But you have to give people a chance. Dominic says, or the reverse, if you're a small school and you win, the next year your coach is poached immediately. It'll happen here with Coach Lewis. He's gone. I can't put words in Coach Lewis's mouth, but he does seem like a guy who's willing to give San Diego State a good go. He wants to be a part of San Diego, which I think is very, very important. But back to the big money stuff, like the SEC and things like that. The SEC basically thinks that they are a professional rank. And when you allow out these outside forces, I'm going back to that because I got distracted. When you allow outside forces like boosters and governors to start making decisions for the school, then I think you've lost a little bit of what college sports is all about. Not even lost a little bit. You've lost a lot. Just because in putting money into a team, putting the boosters putting in $10 million into this Auburn roster, sure, they want to win. But in sports, you are gambling. You're gambling. What if that player gets hurt? What if that player just doesn't play well? I feel like when you give money to a football program, you kind of have to accept things may not go well. And there's just too much going on with college football right now. There's just too much. And I don't even like that March Madness is trying to expand to more teams. Because I don't like, why can't we keep things the same? It's perfect with the 68 teams. And I say 68 because they have the 2 playing games. It's perfect with that. And they even added that. It's perfect with the 64. The only reason, and I wish they would ask this question, even though they do not care because they are getting the money. But I wish they would ask, why are we doing this? If it's for the betterment of the tournament and a better product, okay, sure. But I don't think adding more teams to the March Madness tournament is going to make a better tournament. I think it's going to make a more watered down tournament. But the money will keep pouring in. So this is why I'm sitting here, and those guys are making millions of dollars wherever they're at. Because I don't think that I would be able to come home from work every day and feel good about things. Just ask the question first. Please ask the question first. Why are we doing this? Are we doing it to better things, to make things better, or are we doing this because we can get money? On the chat, Franklin had 11 years at Penn State. No, I get that, and I should have separated that. They didn't give up on James Franklin, but they did sign him to a contract extension, and they did end up firing him knowing that they were going to owe him a bunch of money. So Franklin, in that case, he wasn't fired because he was not getting it done early on in his tenure. He was fired because probably a bunch of different things that we just don't know about. But the argument I'm trying to make is if you pay someone like James Franklin, you should see it through instead of paying that $50 million.
What's annoying Skraby today? Let's find out. It's time for the Daily Gripe.
All right. Daily Gripe. Sorry, I had to take a drink of water because my throat was hurting. The Daily Gripe for today. I don't really have a good one other than the fact that I cannot stand when I make mistakes. I cannot stand when I make mistakes, and I made lots of mistakes today. And there were some bugs in the system as well. So I'm going to be better tomorrow, and I'm going to come back with a smile on my face, and we are going to have a good day tomorrow, mistake-free. Remember, Rubik's Cube Challenge, November 13th at 5:15. I will put up a YouTube live. I will share the link. Be there or be square. Tomorrow, back at 2 p.m., Gwen and Chris, 97.3 The Fan. Thank you very much for listening tonight. I hope everybody has a good, safe night. Talk to you on the Skraby Show on Friday. Have a great night.